And what we have created at Braini is the first patented and clinically proven brain supplement. That is saying a whole lot. There is not another brain supplement in America that can say both of those things, so I'm really proud of that. You heard a little bit about me, so I won't go on about who I am. I was a child entrepreneur, and I kind of continue down that path. I've been working on Braini for about the past 5 years because of the resources here in Asheville that were so knowledgeable about medicinal plants and things. Marcus joined the company about 3 years ago. He's Dr. Marcus Goddard, and has kind of spent a career in IP development, so he's been a real gift to me. This is what motivated me to create the company. These are our sons, Charlie, Marshall, over here in Colton. They were born with undiagnosed genetic disorders that are neurological in nature. So we've had 35 years or so of dealing with brain problems, and thus the interest in developing this team. This is a worldwide team. Dr. Sang-Soo Kim, you see up there at the top, he is the discoverer of the peptide that we use in Braini, which is very critical. Dr. Keith Coupland, who's the leading researcher in the world on fatty acids. Dr. Patrick Hanaway, who's located here in town. He was the co-founder of functional medicine at the Cleveland Clinic. So this type of group of people are the ones who are the real brain power, not just the talking person. Anyway, here we go. So the Braini products are capsules as well as powders. Braini by itself, the product called Braini, is a brain performance product for all ages and approved by the FDA for all ages as safe. Braini Lex is a product that was developed for those who are dyslexic or who might have attention deficit disorder. So one of the questions asked of us is, are we a disruptor brand? And I would like to say, yes, we are. One of the things that we did was we developed a personalized testing platform. So if you buy a bottle of Braini, you can take a baseline test that's provided by a neurocognitive testing company from North Carolina, and 30 days later you can retest and see if Braini worked. If it did not work, you get your money back. We have exclusive ingredients, which I'll talk about. We have successful clinical trials that have now been peer-reviewed and will be published in the next few weeks, we hope. And we have patents, so here you go. The products. We did a worldwide search looking for products that were believed to support the brain. Then we overlaid that on a matrix of only the products that had been published. So they had to be peer-reviewed and published as successful for brain support. Peptalin comes from South Korea. Dr. Kim discovered it about 25 years ago. It's been published many, many times, over a dozen times. Neurexcel is a plant-based omega. And that's a very cool product. It was also the subject of a 25-year effort. It was discovered from a seed that grows in bar ditches in England called Butylosoides arvensis. And it has the highest levels of stearinic acid, GLA and LA of any known ingredient. So it is the combination of Peptalin and Neurexcel that produces a synergistic effect and that allowed us to get our patents. Well, Canadian blueberries is the third ingredient. The patents, we are the first brain supplement company in America to have a composition matter patent on our formulation. That's saying a lot because they don't like to give patents to products that come from natural sources. I see shaking heads there. So I'd be happy to share that story, but it'll take a lot of time. Our second patent we just found out 2 weeks ago we will get, and it is an anti-inflammation and neuroprotection patent. Basically, as you guys know, some of you have worked with patents, it just means you have to have proven to the patent office that these things actually happen. And so this has been a real goal of ours. The reason is, you remember my sons? Charlie and I chased a lot of snake oil. And so when we decided to form this company, it was our goal to be science-based and to be transparent to the consumer. So here's the transparency to the consumer. The bottles have a QR code. When you buy a bottle of Braini, you can opt into taking the 30-day challenge. That testing company is located here. It's a 25-year-old testing company used by physicians in 51 countries around the world. Then you will get a report immediately after you take your first test. It will show you your baseline scores. You take your product for 30 days, you get a second report that shows your results. Now, John went up 21 points in, I believe, cognitive flexibility there, and that is well over a full standard deviation of change. So that's considered clinically significant, okay? This is the slide I love. If you look at Aaron, he's the guy holding the chart up here. Aaron is a veteran. He boxed while he was in the Navy. He came to me, he said, Troy, I'm really worried about my memory. He was having a very failing memory. His family believed he was in early dementia. And so he took a 30-day challenge. And in 90 days, he had a 20-year improvement in his brain age. So he may be 58 when he took this. He was performing like he was 78. Today, he's performing like he's 58. So that's pretty huge. Gerald Fitzgibbon is also an interesting case. His baseline reports were much like Aaron's. See how low he starts out on the left there? Way down at the bottom of the chart. Gerald's was the same. He is dyslexic. Dyslexic people struggle with executive function and cognitive flexibility. In fact, that's a hallmark of diagnosing dyslexia, as well as ADHD, I might add. So Gerald has also had a 20-year improvement in his brain health. And for the healthy, normal person, you can see you still get brain improvement. And I'll show you another example of that. We did our clinical trials here in Asheville. Yay. I think they were shocked when I came to them to do that. But Professor Amy Lanoux ran that program for us. It's taken a couple of years. We had two groups, 18 to 30-year-olds, and we also had 50 to 80-year-olds. So it was two trials. A total of 66 people participated. We had to cut it short because of COVID, but we're happy to report that we did get statistical significance in both groups in something called executive function. Does anybody know what that is? Yes? Very good. Executive function is called the command and control center of your brain. It allows you to multitask with speed and efficiency. And I wish I could talk faster so I could get through all of this, but it is critical. It's one of the most difficult things to improve in brain performance. So we're really proud of that. And I'll just skim through these. You know, this is showing that 92% of the people who participated in this age group benefited in all 6 test categories. Same with the elderly group. So brain health, this is interesting. 61 million people are already buying brain supplements, right? And there's another 82 million who are dyslexic or diagnosed with ADHD. So the market is huge, as you can imagine. And look at how evenly it is subdivided between the age groups. Those are the buyers of existing brain supplements. The market is crowded. That's one of our problems. I'm supposed to present problems to you guys, I tell you. What we have is a market that's flooded with products that are not proven clinically in randomized trials. We have products that are largely made with caffeine and B vitamins. So it's a mess out there. 2 of the leaders, Prevagen and Riva, lost national class action lawsuits in the past 2 years for misleading the public, and they continue to do so. This is a little case study on Riva. This product was launched about 3 years ago. Last year, they had a revenue of $150 million with advertising cost of $22 million. So it's a lucrative business if you can get in it. We do, of course, utilize technology. We were designed to come out as a D2C company. We have just been doing beta testing over the past year, getting our market defined clearly, testing and getting ROAS numbers correct, etc. We also do a bi-weekly AI-generated newsletter. And that newsletter is fantastic. It pulls all kinds of articles that have to do with brain health, lifestyle health, diet, all of that. These are just a few customers and people who were influencers for Braini. Dietrich, he's won 2 Super Bowls, and he had 2 concussions the season prior to taking his 30-day challenge. You can see he has gone up 12 and 15 points in executive function and cognitive flexibility. If you see his chart there, see how low he is on the left here? There. And where he is today. He's almost performing normal for his age group. Now, I might add, all of his other test scores were off the top of the chart. The ones that had to do with motor speed and psychomotor speed and things like that. This is an interesting case too. This is Katie Whaley. She represents the United States in equestrian world championship events. Katie, look at her baseline scores. Look how high they are. Way up. That light green is average for your age group. The dark green is above average. So she was exceptionally high performing to start, but look at these numbers down here. 24 points up in processing speed. And all of these are almost a full standard deviation of change at 15 points. So she's had significant benefits from Braini just 30 days. This is another gal who's an influencer. She's written books. She's a PhD student. And you can see her baseline test scores were average for her age in the light green, and they all went up too. So it doesn't matter if you're performing normally for your age group or not, you can do better with Braini. That's a lot of we are unusual. I just want to reinforce this. Because we have the clinical trials, we are the only brain supplement in America that has clinical trials that are successful on our formulation, okay? And we have the patents in place now, we have the testing in place now, and we are ready to roll. I should go back real quick. The most significant thing in our beta marketing is that we're doing very minimal advertising right now, just testing things, a few $1,000s a month. And we're having about a 36% average growth month over month with 80% retention rate on subscriptions. That's like huge, right? And so we're really grateful for all of the help that I've had from people here in this room and from around the world, frankly. The needs for Braini are funding. You know, we're ready to launch this company and blow it up. We need great, talented marketing people and PR people. Need the ability to get on television and radio. So those are some of our challenges. But I'm happy to take any questions from anyone. Yes?
Hi, thank you so much. I love it. I'm really excited about it. And and I'd like to know if you could explain a little bit more about how these ingredients function to cause these results. Is it adding nutrients, or is it increasing blood flow? Is it reducing, detoxing? Like what's going on to have this happen?
Happy to explain it. As far as I can anyway, Braini, the peptide is small enough when once digested to cross the blood-brain barrier, as is the omega. So we're actually in animal studies in South Korea, which they've been doing for years and years. We know that the peptide causes new brain synapses growth, which is really amazing. We also know that we get antioxidation, neuroprotection, and anti-inflammation from the peptide and the omega together. So we had to prove the synergy when we did in vitro studies. We could look at individual ingredients with different neural cell lines, and in each case, the ingredients may be powerful on their own. And by the way, we were comparing them to all the omegas. So EPA, DHA, ETA, on and on and on. But in all cases, when you put peptide with Neurexcel, you got more benefit than any omega had. So thus the second patent. Did I answer your question okay? Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Hey, Troy.
Hi.
Thanks for sharing. Really excited about what you're doing. After I'm going to introduce you to somebody that has done a lot of M&As in this space.
Thank you.
But as a parent of someone with special needs, and as you know, there's a lot of comorbidities out there that come with this. I'm curious, if you have had any studies, any psychiatrists and scientists in terms of how this interacts with medicines that a lot of folks are already taking. So as a parent, that would be my number one. Could my kid use these results? Yes, but as you know, there's this mix of stuff that is helping them get through their days.
I totally understand, and of course that's the case with our own sons, right? feel like they must take 20 medications a day. It's crazy because they have seizure disorders and all of that. We have been approved for safety by FDA for all ages. In the past couple of years of doing physicians' observational trials and even the clinical trials, we've allowed all sorts of medications in the clinical trials. So if somebody was taking heart medication, things like that, they were allowed to stay in the trial. If somebody was, we did not allow people with seizure disorders to take the product because the doctors were unsure. However, our sons have been taking Braini for what now, a couple of years, 2 years maybe. And what we did is we started them on low dosage and just built them up. And I'm so happy to say that they are doing better. They're doing particularly physical things that they've not ever been able to do before. Both of my kiddos are in wheelchairs and unable to care for themselves. So Charlie and I are seeing real changes in their behavior and attitude. So I can tell you that there's nothing dangerous about the ingredients in Braini. They've been very well studied. I would just, we can talk about it further, but I know I can fill you in on what's happened with our kiddos. Yeah.
I have a comment and a question. Comment, just congratulations. I have a tremendous amount of excitement for you all. You clearly are coming from a place of deep passion and high integrity, but I also really like that that's flown through every step you've made. Congrats on the patents, and it's just wow.
Thank you so much. It's been a journey.
Yeah, I bet, yeah. And will continue to be so.
Yeah.
Question I have is, I really like one of the use cases you showed, which was high performers, the elite, whatever, sports stars, and kind of getting down on the edge. The question I have is, have you considered certifications like, for example, the NSF certified sport certification, kind of making sure it's all above board, which it seems like it is, but those kind of checking those boxes.
Yes, I would love to do that, and I've spoken with one of the doctors from the Anderson Clinic in Birmingham, the sports medicine doc there, and he's very interested in working with Braini. So we're in fact hoping to start a study with one of the baseball teams from Alabama, because they track all of that information so well in baseball. We'll be able to see if Braini really supports the athletes in a measurable way. But all these certifications we really want to do, but they're often very expensive, like $50,000 to get certified by one of these entities. So I've been spending my pennies very carefully. But yes, I appreciate that and would love to see that happen in the future.
Cool. That's what it is.
I've got a question. I'm not sure if you already mentioned it. If you did, I need Braini. What are sort of the mechanics in terms of being able to make claims of efficacy in terms of FDA, FTC, CPB? How do you do that in a way that is regulatory okay?
That's a really great question, and it's something that we have been very cautious about, because we watch the big guys, the Prevagens and the Revas, spend millions and millions of dollars trying to defend themselves with wonderful lawyers. And FDA requires that, FTC basically requires that you have 2 clinical trials that prove the same finding. So what we did when we did the UNCA trial is we subdivided 2 age groups, and then it turns out, fortunately for us, we had the same finding. We had success with executive function. Once you've done that, then in theory you can start marketing and talking about it directly in your communications. Otherwise, you're really asking for trouble, because we can speak to dyslexia, because dyslexia is not defined as a disease state, interestingly. So FDA doesn't call dyslexia a disease state. We can't speak to Alzheimer's because we haven't done a study with Alzheimer's patients yet. But all those things I hope will be coming in the future. Yeah. Hi.
So, as somebody who has, when I was in service, a really bad TBI that caused memory issues, I go to memory therapy and they make us do exercises and whatnot. So, my question, a couple of fold. Number one, is Braini like Rogaine, where it works as long as you're taking it? Or can you like just-
It actually has a residual effect, which has been really fun for us to see. We did a washout study with an MS patient, and if you'll bear with me, I'll show you her results. She's been on Braini now over 2.5 years. So what we did is we started, you can see at the top of this chart, this is the real chart that comes from CNS, and then we convert it to the report that people get in their email. But you can see how all those red categories, that's how she was testing when she began. She's had MS for 26 years. So we try her on it for a while. She immediately starts to show benefit, particularly in executive function and cognitive flexibility. Those lines on the bottom of the chart, okay? Then we did a washout with her. In the first 30 days, her test results remained about the same, which were good. She was still up 33 points after 2 months, okay? Then after 60 days, we tested her, and her numbers were starting to drop. So from what I understand from Dr. Kim is as long as someone continues to utilize this peptide, which is supported even more by our formulation, they will get brain protection, neuroprotection, and he swears, not me, that basically it's preventative of dementia. They've been studying it for 25 years. So you will have a residual effect, but I still recommend staying on Braini. Like this woman, look at what's happened to her. She was basically non-performing, and today she's performing normal in her age group. Right?
Are they also doing, are they just taking the pill, they're also doing brain memory exercise at the same time?
They're just taking the pills. Two a day. I brought some, by the way. There's bottles here. Anybody who would like to try the Braini 30-day challenge, I've got about a dozen bottles and the test links, and I'm happy to provide them to you. Otherwise, if you go on our website, you can type in Troy's gift and you'll get a deep discount so you can do the test yourself. Yeah.
All right, so you were asking for marketing, and this is just, I'm back here, sorry. This is just screaming TikTok to me. I mean, after the success of tabs, sexual libido increasing chocolates, that took off like wildfire. I feel like with the ADHD is like the hottest TikTok topic right now. I mean, everybody on my team has been self-diagnosed with ADHD. Everybody's looking at, any sorts of mushrooms they can take, anything that can help them with some sort of increase in brain function. It's a huge space to be promoting this. So if I were you, I'd take all the small amounts of money you have and put them into micro-influencers on TikTok who talk about ADHD and brain functioning. Just my
Lovely idea. Thank you for that idea. Ian had a question or comment.
Yeah, is an aspiring high performer.
I took my Braini this morning.
I know sometimes the most boring slides are actually the ones that require the most amount of patience and work and time.
Yeah.
And so congratulations on the second patent. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that second patent entails?
The second patent was very important to the company because we were the first brain supplement that will have a patent that basically proves neural anti-inflammation and oxidative stress reduction. So that's what you want. You want to clean up your brain, basically. And that's what the second patent will allow us to do. It'll to protect the formulation. It also allowed us to just reduce the formulation to these 2 ingredients, because we're always worried about people going around our IP. So this kind of eliminated the blueberry, which was important, and it also allowed us to have those 2 ingredients be separate, because the omegas spoil more quickly, and so we've considered giving someone just the peptide and the omegas separately so that we don't have to worry about expiration dates. We'll get back to you. Yes, sir. Sean, I'm sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't have a mic.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, Sean.
So when people do this 30-day challenge, is the test the same from day
No,
1
no.
to day 30? Or how are you, and are there, so what is the test to determine the improvement? And are there other measures that individuals can say, well, I took this test, so whatever is happening there has meaning, but also in my personal life, I've noticed the following improvements.
So about the test, the CNS Vital Signs is the name of the company. It's a testing company. There are published papers actually on their testing models. So there are 120 versions of the test. There's not any way you can, remember anything. And it's not an IQ test. It's really a brain processing test. Does that answer your question? Okay. I think there was a second part to it that was
Just personal improvement.
Yeah. Oh, I have people report all the time that they can definitely tell. Now, I do want to add here, we do not have any stimulants in brain. There's no caffeine in it, there's no B vitamins. I mean, you should take your B vitamins. But, we don't have any stimulants. So most brain products are just that, stimulants, and you feel a little buzz for an hour or two, and then it's gone. You're not really changing your brain performance. So that's why Braini is so special. And we are looking for Braini people who'd like to be involved with this company, and investors who would like to be involved with this company, because we're ready to kick it off. Yes, sir.
Question for you, are there any dietary interactions? For instance, will somebody perform better on this if they're avoiding certain foods or taking certain foods?
I would love to know that. I do know that there are some things that slow down your brain naturally. For example, alcohol, and we're whiskey makers. But alcohol, marijuana, things that naturally are depressants slow your brain down and your brain performance goes down. So if you're drinking a whole lot and taking Braini, they might not. They might be counteracting each other. But I would love to study that more, yes. Yes, sir.
All right, we have time for one last question.
Hello. Hey. I know that the FDA defines supplements differently than medicine.
Yes.
And the claims that you can make, do you anticipate ever being approved as a medicine? And if not, what's keeping you from that?
Yeah, I'll give you the quick answer to that. The FDA, if we had gone to the FDA first for a new dietary ingredient certification, we would not have been able to release the supplement. So we had to release the supplement first. We registered our clinical trials with the FDA, so I'm hopeful that down the road, once Braini, the supplement company, is strong and doing well in the marketplace, we can go back to FDA and consider applying for a new dietary ingredient status and utilize our clinical trials as our phase 1s, because phase 1 is basically a safety trial. So that's kind of the plan. We know that we've had Parkinson's patients who benefit from Braini, always in motor speed and psychomotor speed. Our MS patient has done phenomenally well on Braini. In fact, her neurologist are reporting that they're seeing new remyelination in her brain. So, we're excited. I feel like, I've received a gift from around the world with some really talented people, and now it's my responsibility to get it out there into the market. Thank you.